Hi there. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to be interviewed. My name is Ashley Butler. I'm a registered dietitian, and I actually specialize in disordered eating, eating disorders, and malnutrition. So speaking of kind of sports and athletics, when you are an athlete who's maybe working, 5 days a week or even just 2 to 3 with high output and vigorous exercise, you should really be taking the following points into consideration. So with nutrition, you want to think of food as something that does things for our body rather than something that does things to our body. So as an athlete, you want to just be making sure that you are getting enough food for your body. And so you can use different nutrition information out there. You just want to make sure that you're looking for, as always, qualified, relevant, new information on nutrition. We all know there's so much nutrition information out there. So looking for, different registered dietitians or different organizations that can give you the best pieces of advice that are evidence-backed. So their overall outlook and goals should really be to get enough nutrition to not only kind of fuel their performance, but also just allow them to be meeting and honoring their hunger and fullness cues. So if you're still feeling hungry, you should probably eat more. That's your body's way of telling you that, hey, we worked really hard this week. We actually need a little bit more food than just this portion that maybe your family members are eating. So honor that cue is kind of the best pieces of advice. And then past that is just making sure you're following good variety, moderation, and balance. So we have our macronutrients, we have our micronutrients, which brings us to another question. So what actual macros or vitamins are necessary? You're going to find so much nutrition information out there that might eliminate a whole macro or really, hype up a few certain micronutrients. However, if you look just back to the basic science, keep in mind that, diet culture and the diet industry is a $7.1 billion industry. So of course there's going to be views out there and research that pretty much backs up any opinion. You could go Google a carb-free, diet for athletes, and it'll probably be out there. But if you go back to the general facts of what your body needs, it truly does need all of the macronutrients. So that includes water, although it's not an energy-containing nutrient, but you need it in large amounts. It contains carbohydrates, fats or lipids, proteins, and so you want to make sure that you're getting that in the correct amount. So generally speaking, you want out of your diet, you want 40 to 65% to be sources of carbohydrates. That includes grains, fruits, and vegetables, all of those good sources of carbohydrates. You want about 10 to 35% to be protein. So once again, if you are working out and really rebuilding muscle or doing endurance activities, you're probably going to want the higher end of that range. And then fats, you want 20 to 35%. So keeping those in mind, that can help you kind of just think about it averages throughout the day, averages throughout the week, to make sure you're getting all of the necessary nutrients that you need to fuel your body, right? So if you're listening to something that's saying, oh, we don't need carbohydrates, maybe then go fact check that and Google and look at some reputable sources for, all right, what are the role of carbohydrates in our bodies? What do carbohydrates do for us? And you will see that it's actually, glucose is the primary fuel source for the brain. And so you'll kind of start to figure out and use these common sense with more knowledge that you have about probably that diet's not going to work for me. So a typical breakfast, there are so many factors to consider about why we choose food, right? So, typical, I wouldn't really go with that word because there's going to be typical breakfasts for maybe different cultures, maybe different socioeconomic statuses. So I would break it down into what macronutrients and micronutrients you really want to pack in during breakfast, especially if that is before a full day of using your brain, using your body for a workout or a practice or a game, meet, whatever it is. So you definitely want to get good sources of protein, fats, and carbohydrates within that first meal to break the fast, right, from overnight when your body was kind of using its stored sources of glucose, which is called glycogen. So you want to really refuel that because your body's going to be low. So that could look different from, one family household to the next. And as long as you're getting a good variety of foods, you're doing it right. And you can listen to your body and your cues. If you're craving something, it's likely because your body wants those nutrients. So honor that. For micronutrients, there's a lot of micronutrients, even though you need them in smaller amount, you really can't ignore one or the other. So all this hype about different superfoods or different, vitamins that are going to make your skin better, going to make you run faster. Yes, there's going to be research on there that really highlights the importance of that micronutrient, but all of the micronutrients work within our body together. So sometimes they're cofactors for one or enzymes that need the other to work. So if you're low on one thing, you might not even be able to absorb the iron or the calcium that you're eating through a food. So even though different, articles are going to hype up one, you really just got to make sure you're getting all of them. The best way to do that is by eating the rainbow. So different nutrients, you can kind of tell are within different foods because of the colors. So definitely eating a good amount of colors in your diet is going to really just kind of guarantee that you're getting a great amount of nutrients. Alrighty, and then how much can nutrition actually change an athlete's output or performance? So it goes hand in hand with everything else. It is one tool in your tool belt to improve performance, right? So there's going to be athletes out there who really just eat intuitively and don't really think much more about nutrition as a science or this way to really boost their performance. But they might really, revolve strongly around mental health. So maybe they have a sports counselor who's really helping them. So I would definitely say it has to be there, right? You have to be adequately fueled and you have to be getting the variety of food and nutrients that your body needs to perform and then be able to especially recover from the different work and output that your body is going through as an athlete. But, I wouldn't stress it as one of these things that now you have to become a nutrition expert, hire a dietitian. If you don't have the means, you're still going to be able to have several opportunities to kind of better your performance, better your output, as long as you're meeting the basic nutrition needs. And there will always be research out there that suggests, one best way, one best strategy. And so my last piece that I'll really leave you all with is making sure that you are looking for quality nutrition information and double checking with, a professional in the field or refutable sources, whatever it may be. But use your common sense, take kind of nutrition pieces with a grain of salt until you kind of can fact check that and verify it for good quality evidence-backed information. All right, thank you so much, and I hope that was helpful. Good luck in all of your games, events, and so on. Have a great one.